They're still good, you're not copying it though.
Right.
When they tell me though, here's what to do. Come get me and I'll do it. Because you get in trouble if you go in that kitchen about the Look, there's 5 bags up here. Yeah. You need 2 of them in it. Take 3 out on the way, put 3 new ones in it. Wet the bags down first. Put them in there. And there's still line in here. Okay, so you put 2 bags.
On top of the table.
You leave 2 in there, I'll take 3 out. Wet them down. So, run the water. Now there's a fill line. You lift this water up. And, good. Good for that.
All it is from first layer. That's it. I said, that's a copy.
Oh no, it's fault. It's a Maxwell House coffee.
Yeah, that's how we.
Yeah, it's not. It's not decaf. It's really good.
Saying
Okay. So they would teach them to actually of the specific word. So like I said, this is super far.
Dig the rest of the house.
So, scratchers, I guess I don't know if it's in the book.
No, but
Full proof.
If they do silver,
And they said
a worse day, so was still better. Best day. Morning, sir.
Morning, sir.
Oh, I don't know. Well, they one for business. They want. Kids not problems. I can't doubt you want to know. See what you're doing. Yes.
yeah.
Hey, look. Now,
That's it. Yeah.
when we look at a Bible, I hate to leave, but it ain't my camera. I can make it no better.
I agree. It is. It'll hold what the that's true.
Yeah, we should make it. Hey. Alright. Hey. What? Hey, no, I didn't pitch right.
Yeah, it don't even look like this. Give me shit back.
The chicken pot.
Right.
Some dick. This shit, boy.
What shit? Thank y'all look for it.
I better make sure y'all stock up on that tunnel fix, man. They said they only got one box left.
That's when you start using booty wipes.
Just don't put it in the toilet, put it in the garbage can.
You gonna see the stuff outside. Y'all see the coast to go there.
Let's see, about 8 or 5 people out here walking by here.
Oh, this is pretty big.
Oh, no, that shit.
I used to walk by it all the time.
Morning, gentlemen.
All right.
Glad to see everybody this morning. Morning, ladies over at North. I'm sure that you're all there this morning. Couple of quick housekeeping things, of course. Your sign-in sheets are going around. Make sure that your name is on there. Yesterday, we had a group via video, but there were several people whose names were not on the list. So please make sure you get your name on the list. I want to make sure that you get credit for the groups that you attend. We have a certain amount of groups that the state requires us to attend. And so please make sure you're on there and that I can read your name. Yesterday, I will say this as well, there was one that I couldn't read.
You want to play it out.
So, just make sure that we can read them. Makes it a whole lot easier. Also, tomorrow is Thursday. We're going to be on the still on the emotions thing. So that's for tomorrow and for Friday. But Friday will be a video again because we have meetings on Friday and I won't be able to be here on that day. So that's every Friday, but I just want to alert you to that. We are going to do some trivia questions again about emotions today.
Donuts.
And there will be if you do well in that, and ladies over at North, if somebody keeps up with all that and you do well, I was looking at some stuff. It's not donuts, but it is some
Pizza.
No, it's not pizza, but it is not moon pies either, although it might be. There's several little things that I'm going to come up with for that, and that'll be not today, but tomorrow. I'm going to do the trivia today, and then if we do well, then tomorrow we will have snacks. Yeah. And of course, all that, is if we stay awake and we do group like we're supposed to do a group and all of that kind of stuff. So if I come up and give you a goodie tomorrow, it's because all of that stuff happened in your life. And if you don't get one, it's the same thing. Just the opposite is true. It didn't happen. So in our emotional thing, we've talked about, look, emotional health is important. I will tell you guys, I want to share this with you that, if you have some emotional issues, it can get you to the place where you're stressed out. And man, stress is a killer. I had an issue that I was going through yesterday that caused me a little bit of anxiety. And just because I had a job that I had to do, it was a small job that I've done 1,000 times, but I haven't done it in probably 10 years. And somebody said, well, you do it. So, okay. So I started doing something I hadn't done in 10 years. You know how that can be a little stressful. You're not really sure that you're getting it right. But I was with a person who was really good and really helpful, and so it worked out pretty well. But still, I could feel that stress. And there were, when I went to my house last night, put my feet up, it was like, oh my God, that was tough. That was hard. So we need to be careful about those emotional things. And so today we're going to talk a little bit about depression, and we're going to talk a little bit about anxiety. And here's the deal. I have dealt with a lot of people down through the years that were a little bit embarrassed about the fact that they had anxiety issues. Is that something to be embarrassed about? No. No, because we're all human beings and all of us have emotions and all of us operate with emotions, and sometimes that emotion is anxious, right? Sometimes it's anxiety. So we just need to just deal with it. And I don't mean that by just deal with it. We need to understand that we are emotional people and we need to figure out what's going on and do some work in that area. The other thing we're going to look at is depression. And depression, we will understand that depression is different than sadness. You know, we can get to that place of being depressed, and we need to work beyond that. And so we're going to be talking about a couple of things that we can do to help us do that. In our emotional health, we talked about denial or avoidance. A lot of us want to pretend we are not. We don't have any issues with emotions. That's just not true. We are emotional beings and we have a lot of issues. We're always going to have some of that. And then yesterday was about insight and acceptance. We got to the place where, hey, yeah, we do. And then today, the next stage would be to do something about it or action. And all of these are in our books. Do you have a book? Some of you don't have books. So the new folks, y'all haven't got, look, when you go see your counselor today, let her know that you need a book. And she'll make sure you get a book. Yes, sir. And she'll make sure you have a book. And we always start on page 21. And when you get your book, look, start going through your book. Start at page 1 and just start working through that book. And the book is longer than than the program, right? So the book, you're not going to be able to go day by day in the book and finish it out before you leave the program. But that book belongs to you, so you take that thing home with you and you restudy it, you go back over it, you complete the book. Some of your treatment plan will be out of the book. There's some really good stuff in the book, and some of your treatment plan processes will be coming out of that. Just don't think the book's got some good stuff in it. So do that. So we're at the place of action. You've accepted the need for improvement of your emotional health and are actively seeking help and willing to take suggestion. You are willing to be constructive, to take constructive action toward improvement. Here's the deal. There's a lot of folks out there with a lot of good stuff to tell us. We can get all kind of books, all kind of self-help books and stuff like that. But look, if we don't do it, it doesn't work very well, right? We have to not only take the advice, we need to do something with the advice once we get that. So when we get to the place where we accept the fact that we are emotional beings and we have some emotional issues, then we go see somebody about those emotional issues and they say, hey, look, if you will eat lemons 3 times a day, that'll take care of that emotional issue. What should we do? We should at least give it a shot. I'm going to tell you this. My wife loves lemons. I don't do lemons. I don't like lemons, because lemons are sour. Yes, sir?
I don't know if this applies to what you're talking about.
Well,
I know lemons is a superfood.
Lemons are a superfood?
You know what I'm talking about?
I do.
Does that apply to what you're talking about, or are you just talking?
It just, I don't know. Either way it works, I don't like lemons. We have like 4 or 5 lemon trees and a lime tree at my house. And my wife loves those things. She puts it in her water and whatever But I don't like them. But if my doctor told me that might help for me, then I might consider going to do that to see if that in actuality would help. I have been to the doctor and they say we'll do this, and I made my mind up that I wasn't going to do that.
Man. Oh, man.
All right. So, we're going to be talking a little bit about those two, and I'm going to ask a couple of these trivia questions before we go any farther. We did some of them the other day.
Hi, Doc.
Take care, man.
Appreciate you,
Stay
man.
sober.
Oh,
Hey,
yeah.
go get you a good job, bro. Go get you a good job.
I already got one.
Thank you, Lady Mom.
Alright, be good, bro. I don't let him back in.
I don't think he's
Hey,
gonna.
man, why you put me so
All right, here's our deal. What emotion might someone feel after being betrayed by a close friend?
Anger?
All right, you gotta raise your hand. Yeah, raise your hand, get called on. All right, yeah. Yeah, I think probably, and what were you gonna say?
I'm gonna say disapproval.
Disapproval.
Disappointment.
Yeah, disappointment. All of those probably will mix in there, but anger's gonna be the one that probably settles out. And anger often stems from feelings of injustice or betrayal. If you find someone who's angry all the time, we were talking about this last week or Monday, where some people suffer from chronic anger, and the word chronic means all the time. We're all the time angry. We don't have any good time. We don't have any downtime from the anger. We're all the time angry. One of the things that we can look at is what is causing that. We know with guys is a lot of it is about fear, and sometimes it can be about the idea that we're being done unjustly. Somebody is being unjust toward us, or betrayed us. When your best friend in the world tells you a story, lies to you, or something like that, we're going to feel a little bit of betrayal. So that can also lead to a desire for confrontation. And if I have a desire for confrontation, why would that make me angry? Or why would anger make me have a desire for confrontation?
Because it distorts your way of thinking.
It does. It causes distorted thinking. Anger causes distorted thinking. And if I want to be confrontational with someone, then if I get angry, it's going to get me to that place where I can follow through with that. And although I shouldn't, I can.
If I remember right, didn't you say it dumbs you down?
It does dumb you down. If you become angry, if you allow yourself, we know it's a secondary emotion, and if we allow ourselves to become angry, we can lose up to 40 points off of our IQ. And look, I don't know about you, don't know your IQ, I know my own. I cannot afford it. I can't afford 40-point drop. And usually none of us can. It doesn't mean that we are less intelligent at that point, but we're at a point where we allow our emotions to override our intellect, and we'll do the things that we feel like doing. And a lot of the times when we do the things that our emotions dictate that we do, it doesn't turn out well for us. If you'll look back and think back at the last time that you really got really angry. I'm not talking about ticked off. I was ticked off this morning already. But if you really were seriously angry, it usually does not end well. Somebody got hurt, somebody went to the hospital, somebody went to jail. Somebody that you care about is no longer talking to you, some of those things. So, let's see. If a child cries after losing a favorite toy, which emotion is predominant? What you got? Sadness?
I was going to say that.
Sadness?
I was going to say something.
Sadness? Everybody got sadness.
What about
anger?
Anger over here?
What about annoyed?
Annoyed? All of those things are probably true. But the predominant one is sadness. Yeah, got it. Yeah, of course. And why do we do these little things like this? It's to show that we're all emotional on some level. Have you ever lost something made you sad?
My wallet.
Your what?
My wallet.
Yeah, your wallet. Yeah. I found a wallet one time, had $500 in it, gave it back to the guy, and what do you think his emotion was when I gave it back to him? Oh, he was full of joy, yeah. I found another wallet that a biker had lost, and I called him up and said, hey, it had all of his cards in it. I said, hey, man, I found your wallet. It's one of those nice, long, like a biker uses, And so I got your wallet and all of that kind of stuff, and we were going to a convention, and I said, I'll meet you in Pasadena with it if you live there. He said, okay. So he met me at the hotel we were staying at, and I handed him his wallet. He looked through that thing, and he said, this thing had some, I don't remember what, but it had this amount of money in there, and he's glaring at me. And I said, well, I didn't get your money, but he had a thing going on because he was joyful to get his wallet back, to get his driver's license, his cards, and all of that kind of stuff. But he was ticked off for losing 5, 6, whatever it was in his wallet. And he's looking at me like, okay, well, I think I may have, this was years and years ago, but I may have told him, look, if I'm going to find your wallet, steal your money, I'm not going to give you your cards back. Right. I just throw it on the side of the road. But yeah, I'm funny about money. If I see you drop some money, I'm going to make sure you get it back. Yeah,
The thing about it is, if somebody took that wallet, they're going to take the cards out of it too.
Yeah,
And there's money in there, yeah, they're going to take that, but cards are going with it.
Usually that's what's going to happen.
So I think he's lying to you.
Yeah, this guy, and he could have been, but this guy was, somebody might have been. I was walking, well, I wasn't. I was driving down the road, and I saw it laying over there, and I stopped, picked it up, so that's.
So you saying if you find money,
yeah,
turn it in?
Absolutely. Yeah.
As long as you know who it is.
Yeah, I would.
But if you don't know who it is, you just. But I kind of buy something what you're saying.
Yeah.
Because if it's like $2,500, if it's in a red bag.
What if it's 50 grand?
Now hold up, stop.
$50,000. Well, I will tell you. Look, this is a moral question that you have to ask yourself. Okay, I am funny about money. Okay, I don't have a lot of money, but here's the deal: I don't want yours either. If I find some money, I am going to turn it in. It is my belief. Okay, this may not be your belief, and it doesn't have to be your belief, but it is my belief that if I do the right thing, that I know and that I feel like in my mind and in my heart is the right thing to do, that God's going to bless me. And he has. And I have found pretty good chunks of money, and I have given it back. I found a wallet. I don't know why I found a bunch of wallets in my life. I found a wallet that had a chunk of money, and I took it to the police station. I tried to call the person, and the person kept hanging up on me. I finally called them. They answered me. I said, look, I've got your I'm trying to get some sleep. Leave me alone. Okay. So I took the wallet down and gave it to the police department, because I really believe, hey, if I steal the money, then God's not going to have a way of blessing me.
So, why did you call it stealing when you found it?
Well, if you find it and it's in somebody's wallet and you take it out of there, it's stealing it.
But they know where to return it to.
Like I said, that's not everybody's fault, right? That's not everybody's feelings. You have to deal with that. You have to deal with your own feelings on that.
I found an envelope in HEB parking lot.
Yeah.
Rocket. And started to go down to the walk, lost and found. And told me HEB. I said, okay, we'll get to somebody. No, here's my number. I said, they can call me, tell me how much money in here belongs to them, and I'll bring it to them.
Okay.
If you don't know, if you give it to somebody like that, they might pocket that money.
That's absolutely true. And I didn't mean to get that discussion started, but it's a good discussion. Here's the deal. If I find $2,500 in an envelope, and I take it and give it to Mr. Shaw and say, hey, look, this is not my money. Somebody lost this money, you know, here you go. I think you might know who it belongs to. And Mr. Shaw puts it in his back pocket and says, okay, well, that's okay. That's on him. That ain't on me. I've done what I'm supposed to do with what's in my pocket.
Just remind
And I would take it. So,
Yes.
so the guy that I lost the $500 from is really interesting. He lived in Pennsylvania or somewhere, and he and his girlfriend had broken up, and they had all of the furniture and everything out of the house. They had one card in that billfold that had a number, and I called that number, and it rang, and I left a message, and they had a box that was still sitting there with the phone and the answering machine on it. She came and answered and saw that on there, called him, who was in Texas, and he came, and that was the last little bit of money he had, and he wanted to give me half of it, and I didn't need his money, didn't want his money, but my wife at that time had a hair shop. She was a hairdresser and a gift emporium, and that guy's wife and mother started coming over there and having their hair done. And so, you know, if you ever, you know, those things are, those things are expensive. So anyway, anger was the thing. Sadness was the thing. Sadness is typically linked to loss or disappointment resulting in emotional distress. So what emotion is usually evident when someone jumps in surprise at a loud noise?
Fear.
Fear? Okay. Anything else? This one's kind of weird because it tells you the answer. Excitement. Surprise. It's surprise. So surprise occurs in response to unexpected events, often caused by a brief, startled reaction. Some people have more of a startled reaction than other people. You know, I don't startle real well. You know, I've had people walk up and yell behind me and stuff. I don't do that very well. You know, I'm not jumpy. But a lot of people do have a startle reflex that's exaggerated, and you can see them jump, for nothing. But that's what that is. So real quickly, we're going to go over some of these things on depression. And then after the break, we're going to look a little bit at anxiety. And I told y'all that I suffered from a little bit of anxiety yesterday and made the decision that I'm not going to do that anymore. You know, I'm just not going to get anxious anymore. Is that going to work for me?
No.
No, because look, we're emotional people. I don't want to be anxious. It causes stress. I don't want to get all of that anxiety going on in my life. But things are going to happen, that's going to cause you some anxiety in your life. It more than likely that's going to happen. So sometimes we need to take a look at some of that stuff. And depression, also, this guy, I don't know who came and did all of the artwork, but it was so well done that I thought, man, we might just need to keep that. You know, we don't need to change that. So when we're feeling depressed, sometimes our brains, you didn't get to sign in? Sometimes our brains can get stuck in certain moods, or modes rather, or ways of thinking. So here's the deal. If you are depressed, if you have, if you have some deep and abiding sadness that's with you more than it should be, then you need to think about the way that you are thinking.
I'm sorry, we got the wrong sheet.
Thank you.
Thank you, man.
I don't know where the other sheet is.
Everybody signed it? Everybody signed it?
I did.
Make sure you sign it.
Cleveland and Mr. Leon need to sign. That's it.
All right, so we're going to get into some of these modes of thinking, and we need to be able to recognize these modes of thinking when we get into those modes of thinking. So these are ways that are thinking that aren't actually true. Sometimes we tell ourselves lies. And look, I'm way, way guilty of this. Right?
Yeah, it's only you.
I'm guilty of telling myself lies all the time. But they feel true in the moment. Have you ever heard anybody say, well, everybody hates me, nobody likes me, I might as well go eat worms? You don't hear people say that a lot, but people think that a lot. Or if you make one mistake, everything that you do is wrong, or everybody feels like everything that you do is wrong. Those that's not usually true, right? I mean, not usually. Sometimes people are going to get that way, but that's not usually true. Thanks. If you make one mistake, your brain might distort that. And y'all have heard this. We've talked in the past on cognitive distortion. That means cognitive is a word that means my thought processes, right? If I'm cognitive, that means I'm a thinking person. So this may change some of those things, and it gets us to a place where we're feeling that something's true when it's not really true. It feels like it's true, and it can cause us to have cognitive symptoms of depression. So I need to get to the place where I make sure that I know what is true, what is factual and actual, because it's not always. Just because I feel a certain way doesn't make it is a certain way. So, for example, if you make one mistake, your brain distorts the meaning of that mistake and sees it as evidence of always making mistakes and always getting things wrong. Do you get things wrong?
Yes.
Yeah. Do I get things wrong?
Yes.
Calm down. Calm down there. Calm down. I do. Everybody does. You're not going to run into anybody that's not going to make a mistake. We all do. Sometimes I'm going to say something, or sometimes I'm going to do something that's not going to be helpful, and all of those kinds of things. So do you. We all do that. So we need to look. That's just part of being human. If you don't do that, then you're not human. So that's something we really don't need to worry about. If you screwed up, you screwed up. The one thing that I found that's helped me when I have screwed up is to confess real quickly. I used to suffer from perfectionism, and that's not a good thing. That means you hide anything, hide all your imperfections. You don't let people know you made a mistake. You'll steal, lie, cheat, whatever you have to do to keep people from knowing that you made some type of mistake. But nowadays, see, I have defeated that, because if I make a mistake, first thing I'm going to do is go tell my boss, or go tell the people who work with me or for me, and because that takes that away right. It has no more power over me. So when we have these cognitive distortions, we need to challenge them. When I'm thinking that, hey, I never do anything right, you might say, no, that's not true. There are a lot of things that you do right? You've done some great things. You've done some good stuff. So it's not always going to be true. So when we can name our own cognitive distortions, we know what's going on. It's easier to pause, take a look at the situation from a new perspective. And so we're going to look at some of those things real quickly. We've got 6 of them we're going to look at and see, how that pertains to us. And the thing is, as we hear this stuff, if it doesn't apply, just let it fly. But if it does, take note of it. And then when that starts to happen to you again, you say, wait a minute, this is not necessarily true. And then you go back, when somebody tells me stuff, I've had people tell me stuff in the group, and I've had people tell me stuff outside the group, and I'll go sit in my office for a few minutes and think about it and see if that's actually true. I'm going to research what they said and see if that's actually true. If it is, I'm going to do what I can to try to change it. And if it's not, I'm going to do what I can to let that go, because I'm not going to let that mess me up. So here's one of the things. We can get into a thing called the fortune teller mode. Y'all ever heard of that? They have a group of people in California that are called the California Psychics. You know that they are really psychics. They know without a shadow of a doubt. If they can get you to call them, they can charge you $2.98 an hour. So they are, they're really psychic. But fortune teller mode, look, I'm usually not going to be able to tell you what you're thinking. Sometimes I can tell you what I think you might be thinking, but that's not usually a good way for me to go. Our brains are in fortune teller mode when they predict that the worst possible outcomes are going to happen in the future. We also, what else do we call that? And I like the other word better. It's called catastrophizing. Y'all ever heard that word? Catastrophizing. I may not be saying it exactly right. What that means is everything that happens is going to be a catastrophe. If I have to go to see the judge, if I'm going before the judge, I'm going to prison for the rest of my life. If my wife calls me up and says, hey, come on home a little early tonight, we have to talk. 3 worst words in the American language, we need to talk. So, but we catastrophize and we say, oh my God, she's horribly, terribly nasty at me. My boss called me one time from when I was working at the prison, and my office was over there. I was the assistant director. She was the director. Her office was over here like a half a mile. And she said, I need you in my office right now. And then hung up the phone. What did I do? First thing I started doing was catastrophizing. What could she want? What did I do? What is the problem? How, and so I started walking over there, and the whole way over there, I'm thinking, what's going on? What's the problem? What's happening? What's she going to say to me? When I walked into the building, I walked down the long hallway and got to her office, and I walked in her office, and she said, look at this, Dr. Garner. What do you think about that?
Nothing to do.
But me, I had catastrophized the whole thing. And I had thought, man, this is going to be terrible. But it wasn't. We do things like this. I think I failed my presentation at work today. I just know I'm going to get fired soon. What if I can't find another job again? That's catastrophizing. You ever do that? I have done that. We don't need to get into that mode of thinking. I've done that when I screw something up. Oh my God, I'm the oldest guy here. I'm the best looking guy here, of course. But all of those things, and you get to thinking, well, they might just want to get rid of me and get somebody younger, and that's.
That reminds me of what you're talking about. Something said that you used to tell me all the time. Say, son, think too hard about it, you'll end up seeing what's up, bro.
Yeah.
It's stuff movie though,
And that's exactly what that is. If you don't just don't. The big deal is don't catastrophize over it. Don't be a fortune teller over it. Don't get in that mode where you're thinking things are going to be this way every time they do. Every time something happens, you're thinking the worst is possibly going to happen. What's the worst thing that's going to happen? One of the best ways to get beyond that is think about the best thing that could happen. If I had been walking from my office to her office with the idea in my mind, she's going to promote me. She's going to give me a raise. She's going to tell me what a good job I did on that other presentation. She's going to do this and she's going to do that. Then probably would have been in a better place when I finally walked into her office. Because when she handed me that presentation, and because she had to give a presentation in Huntsville, and she wanted my opinion on her presentation, then I probably would have been at a better place to tell her some good news. But it was good. She was brilliant, so it was a pretty good presentation. But by the time I got it in my hand, my attitude had gone south, and I wasn't feeling too good about it. And I pointed out 3 places where she had made little mistakes, like the wrong punctuation or the misspelled a word or something like that. So we don't need to be doing that, because here's the deal. The sad fact of the matter is we don't know. All right? We don't know what we don't know. We just don't know. So we need to just let everything go until we get there. Could it be bad news when we get there? Yeah, it could be. Could be bad news. When I worked out at the prison, y'all know that for a long time. You couldn't have a cell phone in it. So we had to use just a regular phone. This is back in 2000 when they wouldn't let them. Now they've got phones in the prison, but back then you couldn't have them. Couldn't even bring your personal phone in or anything like that. And somebody called and said, "Hey, wife needs you on the phone." Immediately you go to all of those things and all of those terrible things. So by the time I get to the phone, I pick it up. She just wants to know what you want for supper, or she wants to tell you she loves you, something like that. So we don't know till we don't know, but it's still kind of hard not to go to that place, but we need to work on not going there. The next thing is kind of akin to it. It's not the same, but it's akin to it, and it's called the mind reader mode. When you look at somebody and you talk to somebody and knowing they give you you ever had somebody give you a funny look? Some people can't help. You just give everybody a funny look. But that's me. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about me. I give everybody a funny look. I should have been a comedian, but I couldn't find out. The only reason I'm not a rock star is because if I'd have had talent and opportunity, I probably could have done that. But without any talent and with no opportunity to do it, so but yeah.
You're doing what you just preached about.
Yeah.
You hear me?
I do.
Don't talk yourself down. Talk yourself up.
See that? So that tells me that somebody's listening. So look, when our brains are in mind reader mode, when they take guesses of what the other people are thinking. Anybody do that? I do that all the time. I do that all the time, and to my detriment. When I look at some of my supervisors or something, and I'm looking at the quizzical look on their face or something like that, I'm thinking, oh my God. I'm always doing that. So I need to work on it. That's one of the reasons that I was in a little bit of a panic yesterday. I got a little bit of stress going on yesterday because I got in that mind reader mode, and I need to not do that. That's something that I need to recognize that that's where I am, because here's the deal. Whatever you're thinking, I don't know that. I can't read your mind. Y'all, some of you are, there's probably not anybody old enough. You remember the amazing Kreskin? Y'all remember him? No. There was a guy called the Amazing Kreskin. He was on television. He would come to, and it was, he said he was a mind reader. And that guy, he was just amazing. He could tell you what was in your pocket. He could tell you where you came from, all of that kind of stuff. And you watch him and you think, well, this is real.
So,
but,
psychic?
Yeah. He didn't bill himself as a psychic. He just said he was the amazing Kreskin. And he'd say, okay, reach in your pocket. You reach in your pocket. He said, okay, you're holding a dime and a nickel and your cigarette lighter. And sure enough, there's a dime, a nickel, and a cigarette lighter in that person's hand when he pulled it out. And he did that all over the whole gymnasium, this one and this one, and they do that 35 times in a 30-minute show and never was wrong. And you say, okay. Yeah, something was, in my own opinion, something was staged. So, yeah, something. I don't know what it is. So, but anyway, we are not mind readers. You don't know. Now, I have looked at people who are, we can tell somebody's angry at us and running toward us with vindictive anger and meanness in their eyeballs and all of that kind of stuff, but I'm still not able to read their mind. I don't know what their intentions are when they get to me. You guys were here the other day when Mr. Shaw did that. Did anybody think that he was going to do me physical harm? No, it didn't look like it. It didn't seem like it. So, our brains are in that when we take guesses of what they're thinking. However, our brains feel really sure that those guesses are right. Are they? Sometimes. Sometimes they may be right, but they're not always Right. And the chance that I got it right, if at the very best, is going to be something like 50-50. So when somebody's looking at you, you really don't have an idea of what they're thinking. So here's an example. Meeting new people at a party was awkward. I bet no one thought I'm worth getting to know. See, we don't know that. There might have been people there that was excited about meeting you. There might have been people there that really are interested in finding out who you are and all of that stuff. We don't know that. And so how do you figure it out? Yes.
Know your self-worth.
Know your self-worth. Yeah, that's a good point. I think that, if we suffer from low self-esteem, stuff like that, this is going to be more evident in our life, isn't it? We're going to be more worried, first off, about what people think about us. And one of the things that was said in our meeting the other day is that what people think about you, and who said it in this group, is none of our business. And what you think about me, that's none of my business. We have, as thinking human beings, we have the right and the ability to think anything we want to about each other. One thing that I would suggest is whatever is in here does not have to come out here. So whatever you think of me, you can keep that to yourself, and it might be more advantageous for everybody. And the same thing for me. I don't have to let that go out of my mouth. So that's mind reading. We need to stay out of that mode if we can. One of the other ones, and I see this, and look, I see this, and it's kind of distressing to me sometimes because I see a whole bunch of these things in me, and this is one of the reasons I teach this stuff. One of the reasons I'm an anger therapist is because I have anger issues. And so I needed to get that out of my life, and so I went to study it and got to doing what I'm doing. But these things are in my life as well, and I need to get those out of my life. And this is one that I have to deal with sometimes, an all or nothing attitude. What does that mean? The all or nothing mode. When I get my mind in that all or nothing mode.
I think that's a dangerous mode.
It is.
Too, because it's out on a lot of things.
Sure.
And you're really only going to put yourself in a bad spot.
Sure. When I was at the prison, for a lot of the time there, I was the assistant director. That wasn't good enough for me. I wanted to be the director. I finally became the director with a different company out there, MTC, but that was a hard place for me to be the assistant director, because that's not what I wanted. I didn't want to be the assistant. I wanted to be the director. You call somebody on a team, you put them on the team, but you don't put them at the head of the team. And sometimes, see, I have suffered from that all or nothing. And when you get into that all or nothing mode, then that place where you do get put, you can't do your level best there because you're having issues because you're not getting the all or nothing thing satisfied. So all or nothing, our brains are in all or nothing mode when they only see things in extremes. This is also called black and white thinking. So an example of that would be something like, everyone else is so active on the weekends. Sure, I'll walk the dog, but that doesn't count. I guess I'm just lazy. Because I'm not doing as much as you're doing, then I'm going to come down on myself about being, that's not true. That's not true. I don't have to do as much as you're doing. If I get an opportunity, I'm going to go work out today. I'm going to guarantee you that there's going to be people there that are in better shape than I am, and they're going to outdo me at every turn. No doubt in my mind, I see them every time I go over there. And with the all or nothing attitude or the all or nothing mode, that would keep you out of the gym, wouldn't it? I can't compete with that guy, so I'm not going to go at all. That's the all or nothing, and that's where it hurts you. That's where it will mess you up. Yeah, I can't do as much work as that, so I'm not going to go to work at all. I can't do this, so I'm not going to go and try to do anything. I can be the best follower, right? If I'm not the leader, that's okay sometimes, right? So I have a boss here, and just about everywhere you go, you're going to have one. And yeah, I'm never going to be that because I'm going to retire before she does. I'm probably going to retire weeks maybe before she does. So I'm not going to be able to do that. So all or nothing, we're either going to be the whole big thing or nothing. And then another one is all my fault mode. Everything is my fault. All my fault mode. It's all my fault. Our brains are in the all my fault mode when they are sure something is our fault. Even when that's not really true. I will tell you this, that sometimes things happen that are my fault. Right? Sometimes people get angry at me, and is it my fault? Sometimes it is. Sometimes I do stuff. Sometimes I yell at people. Sometimes I do things that's a little inappropriate. Sometimes I do things that people don't like, and so they get angry at me, and that is my fault. Sometimes people get angry at me, and it's not my fault. So it's an emotion that you are supposed to be in control of, or that other person. It's not true sometimes. I missed my friend's text. Here's the example. When he was upset, if I had answered, I could have talked him through it. It's my fault he's feeling down. One of my best friends was a pharmacist. He had several pharmacies. And one night he drove over to somebody's house that he didn't know, and we didn't know, drove up in their driveway and shot himself in the head, took his own life, and he's my best friend. And his wife came to me and said, why couldn't you talk him out of that? You're a counselor. Why couldn't you stop that? Several other people came up and said, what happened? Why didn't you have a word? Why didn't you? All of that stuff. And there for a minute, I was starting to feel, hey, why didn't I? There's a good reason. He had a really good facade going on. He looked like he was perfect. Everything was happy. He's a rich guy. He's got all of these pharmacies. A pharmacist makes about $50 an hour, so they're doing okay. But he owned about 6 of them. Went to his house a couple of times. Oh my God, big old, had all of this stuff. Beautiful wife, wonderful children. So what happened? He was a deacon in the church, all of this stuff. All of that was, it was hidden. And he never came to me and said, I need to talk about something. So it was not my fault that he shot himself in his head. That was his own doing. So, we have to get past that. Look, some stuff can be my fault. Lots of stuff can be my fault. But not everything is my fault. Sometimes people make the mistake of trying to make everything your fault. And it's just not. There are people in your life. And if we have people in our lives that are great fault finders, you ever had anybody in your life was the greatest fault finder in the world? They could, oh yeah, you did that. We might need to think about that person might not be the one that we need to have now. Because I can do my own fault finding. All right, real quickly, another mode, the I should, I must mode. I should, I must, and remember all of these things are things that can get us into depression, and we need to watch them. Our brains are in the I should, I must mode when it seems like there are rigid rules about how you always are supposed to behave with no room for mistakes. Yes, sir?
don't make mistakes, how do you?
Well, that's a good point. If you don't make any mistakes, how you going to learn? Most people who don't make, and I don't know anybody that don't make mistakes. We all make mistakes. We're all going to do something that's a little bit. See. So we're all going to make mistakes. If you live long enough, you're going to make mistakes. I've been around here for 72 years. I'm going to tell you what, I have made mistakes. I'm hoping to be around long enough to make some more. So we're going to make some mistakes, but I don't always make mistakes. So look, I can't believe I dropped that pass. I should always give 100%. There's no excuse. I should be better than that. Look, I'm always striving to be a little bit better and stuff like that, but I will tell you, as I grow older, I get a little bit slower. I don't do this thing as quickly as I used to. I don't have the kind of snap I used to have. Back in the day, I had a whole lot more snap and stuff like that. So that's a good excuse for bad behavior. I understand that, but it's also the truth. And so, when I'm not feeling well, and we've talked about this probably 100 times, but when you feel well, you do well. And I don't, when I don't feel well, I don't do well. So, real quickly, we're going to do the last one. We're going to take a break. One of the things that's problematic for me, like most of these are problematic for me, and I have to deal with them. I don't deal with a whole lot of depression because I know this stuff is in there. And it sometimes gets me to a place of anxiety, which is what we're going to talk about after the break. But I don't allow these things, even as they're happening, I don't allow them to take me to that place of depression. If we're ignoring, we should be in a positive mode, but a lot of the time we can ignore the positive. So when we're ignoring the positive mode, our brains are in an ignoring the positive mode when a mix of good, bad, and neutral things happen. Now, let me share a little something with you that usually down through the day, there's going to be a neutral thing. There's going to be some good things happen today. Lunch is going to happen. Miss Cynthia is in there making lobster and creme brulee and all that kind of stuff. That's going to happen. So that's a good thing. And then when you go in there, you're going to find out, hey, all the lobster and the creme brulee was already eaten. All I got left, chicken. But, okay, so there's a little bit of it, but there's also going to be some neutral things that's going to happen. I'm going to have to do some things that's not going to affect you at all today, and you're going to do some things in your life that's not going to affect me at all today. And so there's that neutral thing that's going on. So we got good things, we got bad things, and we got neutral things going on. But what happens a lot of times, and this happens to me as well, is I ignore the positive. See, our brains are in that ignoring the positive mode when a mix of good, bad, and neutral things happen, but only the bad things seem to matter to us. We focus on the bad things, and, going home after work, that's the thing that runs around in your mind. That's the thing that you keep thinking about. That's, this is what that person said to me. This other person gave me that bad look. This is how that... and so we just ignore all the good positive things because, it takes like 10 good positive things to wipe out one negative thing. So, this is an example of that. Things have been going well with my new girlfriend or boyfriend, but she canceled our date for tomorrow. The relationship has fallen apart. Is that true?
No.
Maybe, maybe not. Probably not. Sometimes it's better for just not to be with you today.
Maybe she got something going on.
Yeah, maybe she got something going on. Look, I've been married for 53 years, and I told my boss the other day, God bless you for letting me work out here. Because I can't stay at my house all the time with the woman that I deeply love, because there's some things about the woman that I deeply love that I don't like. Yeah, I just don't. So, all of that is I'm ignoring those things that are positive. Now, here's the deal, real quickly. If you are experiencing any of these cognitive distortions, you can practice looking at that situation in a new way. So, these are some of the things that we need to do real quickly. The mind reader mode, knowing what someone is thinking, maybe not. She didn't laugh at my joke. She must hate my sense of humor. Maybe we ought to think about, maybe she didn't like that joke. She's heard it before. Maybe she just has a different sense of humor than mine. You know, I will tell you this. I have an issue with that. I try to be funny all the time, and I've had so many people tell me, you ain't making the mark. You need to quit. You need to stop doing that. You know, okay. Try to lighten things up and try to be. Sometimes I miss it a lot. But I do understand other people have different sense of humor. They don't like what I like and stuff like that. Ignoring the positive when only bad things seem to matter. It doesn't matter that I was chosen for the new project. That doesn't matter. I'm not the team lead. I'm not the boss. That's ignoring the positive. I wasn't chosen for the team, and I was chosen to be on the project. I was chosen to be there. Fortune teller mode, predicting the worst future outcome. I haven't dated anyone in so long, I'll probably never find a partner. If I want to date someone, this is a positive. I can put myself out there. If you stay at the house all the time, you're not going to be dating anybody. Go to church, social. Go to AA things. On my fault mode, being sure something's my fault. I was polite, but he was so mad when I said no. Maybe I should have been nicer. Now this is the deal. His feelings are his responsibility. Being polite but firm is totally okay. One of the things that we're taught as counselors is firm, fair, and consistent.
Wouldn't that be a form of
Wouldn't it be a form of who?
what you just said, being firm? Wouldn't that be a way of
Yeah, it is a way of being assertive. We're supposed to be. That's what we're all supposed to be driving toward, is becoming assertive. And being firm is part of that. But when you say I'm going to be firm, okay, that's okay. But I got to be fair too, because if you're going to be firm with me, you got to be firm with the other person as well. If you're going to be firm with me, you got to be firm with Jamala. You got to be firm with Santana. You got to be firm with everybody. You can't just be firm with one person and not with everybody else. So firm, fair, and consistent. When you see Miss Rebecca, you see her today, that's how she's going to be tomorrow. I go to church with her sometimes. Maybe. I go to church with her sometimes. She that way at church. That's just who she is. And she's going to be firm, fair, consistent. And so that's what if we get like that, it's going to be a good thing. So it's okay to be that thing. So I must, rigid rules about what you have to do. To be a good friend, I always have to be available. I can't miss anything. Everybody misses something. That doesn't mean you're a bad friend, just human. Right? I mean, if you don't miss something, I have a whole bunch of grandkids and kids, and I hate it, but I miss their birthdays all the time. My daughter usually will send me a text and say, hey, Dad, it's Paul's birthday. Dad, it's Herschel's birthday. Dad, y'all's anniversary's coming up. I know she's sweet. She's my good kid. She said, I know but it's Chris's birthday, And so she keeps me from, messing everything up. So the all or nothing, black or white, no room for gray. My coworker got written up at work. He must be a really bad person. That sounds true? Could be. But he also maybe was just having a bad day. Maybe people make mistakes. Maybe management was being unfair. That does happen. So these are some of those things that we can do to keep ourselves from being in a depressed mood. Now, what we're going to do now is take a break. But then after about 15 minutes later, we'll come back and do anxiety, and we'll talk about that. And so I'm trying to yes, I fasted. I fasted. Okay, you're fine. But there's one thing you need to know, okay? I I'm a little bit late. I kind of feel but like
You for real though? I'm gonna show you how to do it.
things, but you're done and you're not.
Now, space. You busy? I'm trying to go to sleep. Shit, I can't even stay up. I'm trying. I'm over some homework. I explain questions that don't have stuff.
Oh, then I got some coffee. Let me get my coffee.
Don't be cheap, right? Oh yeah.
Can't sit there on the phone yet. I got seatbelt. This is just a reminder. This is good. Before. Somebody. Top 10. This is staying 12 2 hours later. Good. We got another side. I can tell you last time it's just crazy. Still that's okay. Okay. Put it on the table. Somebody try to take one of my
But if you're not, I got no, a lot of people that, just like,
I told him, I couldn't do it. I was raised like that. That's it, like, I just need. So if you buy it again, those guys, I said, hey, so y'all, simple job. They changed it. They
Better have operator for the law.
Don't sneak attack. I said, here it is. Already know. That's what I said. People
The one thing I read, well, I mean, hey, I'm kind of I'm not going around it. Okay. I repeat it. Daytime and now you're not. And you're complaining.
Yes. Well, yeah, don't forget that.
We have 1 minute, Mr. Washington.
So I need to send the tenants.
Dad, what's wrong?
And Doral.
All right, Mr. You okay?
He feel bad because Ted didn't know.
Well, so do I. He was a good guy.
Yeah, that's it. Things change.
Like Mr.
So I
Tiff.
came back there.
All right, it's group time. All righty then. So, during a competitive game, if a player feels intense rivalry and resentment, what emotion is at play? Yeah, if during a competitive game, like you're playing baseball or football or something, if a player feels intense rivalry, like against the other team, and resentment, what emotion is that play?
Anxiety.
Anxiety. Anything else? Nervousness.
Just because you feel it.
It's true. This is exactly what we're talking about. No, it's jealousy. So they're feeling jealous. Jealousy involves feelings of resentment toward others' advantages, and a lot of the time we feel resentment toward another person's advantage, even if they don't have that advantage. We perceive that they have that advantage. So this is a common thing to happen in competitive scenarios. So, what emotion is associated with a sense of fulfillment after you help some other people? What emotion is associated with a sense of fulfillment after helping others? Joy. I do believe I feel some joy after helping people. Happiness. Excitement. You were stretching. Yeah, all of those I believe are true, but the one that they're pointing out is pride. You feel prideful at helping other people. Pride arises from a sense of accomplishment, self-worth, especially from positive actions. If someone feels overwhelmed and withdraws from all social interaction, what emotion might they be experiencing? Did you have an answer? If someone feels overwhelmed and withdraws from social interactions, which emotion might they be experiencing? Exhaustion. Depression. Anybody else? Anxiety. You did, and y'all say, "Oh yeah, right."
Even you said it in a sense, overwhelmed.
Overwhelmed. Yeah, that is true. Loneliness.
Yes.
Feeling lonely. Loneliness is an emotion resulting from a lack of connection, leading to isolation. So, can you be isolated when you're in the group?
Yes.
You can be isolated. You can isolate yourself in a group of people. We need to understand it. You don't have to go off in the woods and get isolated. I have some places at my place where I can isolate myself, but I don't have to go isolate myself in that place. I can just isolate myself emotionally because I want to. So, yeah. So the next thing we're going to look at quickly. I spent a whole lot of time on it, but this is the one that was affecting me a bit yesterday. And this is we're going to talk a little bit about nervous system regulation. This is what anxiety comes out of a lot of the time. Nervous system dysregulation. What does that mean? That's a lot of big stuff. Dysregulation means what?
Dysregulation?
Yes, sir.
That means that you're not regulating yourself the way you should be.
That's a really good explanation of it. Dis means not, right? Dysregulation. I'm not regulated. Right. I'm not regulated the way that I'm supposed to be. We need to keep our emotions in regulation. We need to be in charge of our emotions. So, nervous system dysregulation occurs when your body becomes overwhelmed by chronic stress, some kind of trauma, or emotional strain, causing it to get stuck in the extremes of high anxiety or low energy shutdown state. I had a little anxiety yesterday. Yeah, I had to do something I hadn't been doing in a long time, and I was anxious about the fact that I might not do it correctly. One of the things that I discovered pretty quickly is that there were people in my sphere of influence that were willing to help. And they did exactly that. So that helped deal with all of that anxiety. I could call on someone and say, hey, I need to have some help in this, and they were willing to do that. So, but what it does, it can look like racing thoughts, difficulty sleeping, a lot of feeling jumpy. Y'all ever felt jumpy? It's kind of, I was feeling a little bit of that. Feeling physical symptoms like a racing heart. I didn't have any of that. Muscle tension. On the other hand, dysregulation can also manifest as exhaustion. Somebody said that earlier. Numbness, a sense of disconnection from yourself or others. So we don't want to have those things. These signs show that your nervous system isn't balancing well between your states of alertness and rest. So here's some of the things that lead to us being at a place of anxiety. Regulating our nervous system means finding ways to help your body feel calm, safe, and grounded, even in the face of stress. Is there a situation where we can get all the stress out of our life? No. Usually, we're not going to be able to be completely and totally stress-free. If there's different types of stress. There's a lot of bad stress, and there's good stress. There's all sorts of things. If your boss comes and says, "Hey, we don't need you anymore," will that cause stress in your life? Absolutely. Whether you like the job, you care for the job, whether you can get another job, stuff like that. If you're still going to have some stress because a situation is ending. How about if your boss comes and says, "Hey, I'm going to give you a promotion"? That cause stress? Yes. Because there's good stress, there's bad stress. When there's bad things going on in my life, it's going to cause you some stress. My daughter called me 20 some odd years ago and said, "Guess what?" I said, "What?" She said, "I'm going to have a baby." That cause stress? Sure, it caused stress. And it caused a lot. But she was married and been married for 4 years, and all of that kind of stuff. So it was good stress. We said, okay, here comes the next grandchild. That grandchild has now given me another grandchild. So when he called, said, "Hey, Grandpa, guess what? She's pregnant." So what does that say? Did that cause stress? Yeah, that caused a little bit of stress, but it was all good stress. What if your daughter calls you and says, "Hey, Dad, I'm pregnant," and she's 12? That's going to cause some stress in your life, right? Yeah. But it's going to be a lot of stress. It's going to be some bad stress and some stuff like that. So you cannot escape stress. The only way that we're going to escape stress is to not be living. So we're not ready for that yet. So we're going to deal with the stress that's coming. Say it again?
How do you stop stress?
How do you stop stress?
Especially people stressing you out. Tell them how you feel to your face.
Well, that helps.
Yeah, tell them how they respond in ridiculous.
I think that's true.
So stop it right there where it's at. If you don't voice it,
he was talking
about.
Doing it.
I'm a pro player, so you put me in the game, I can play position.
Well, he was talking.
Know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir. Yeah. He was talking about stopping a particular stress bomb at that point. And you can do that. If you got a stressful situation, I think he's exactly correct. You address it immediately. You address it. Here's the deal. Is that going to end all stress in your life? No, because if you end that stress there's something else that's going to be stressed. You're going to go in there and dinner's not ready yet. They're going to cause stress. Yeah. So there's always going to be stress. We have to have stress for us to continue doing the things we do. So here's the deal. There are some things that we can do to help get rid of some of that stress. It's about using techniques that help us to shift out of states of high alert or shut down and move back to a place where we feel more stable and centered, which is where I need to be. Because if I'm stable and I'm centered, I'm in control of me. Now, like Santana was saying, it's up to you to be in control of you. You need to be in control of you.
If somebody comes by, keep touching you, you say, hey, bro, don't touch me no more, something bad will happen. I wouldn't suggest doing it. Yeah, okay. Well, you know they're doing it on purpose just to get on the nerve. You know these things. It's different.
It is.
And people, because you know they're sent at you. It's like,
and you should be able to address those things. So, really quickly, here's some of the ways that we address it in our life. Now, I can't usually address it in your life, but here's how I'm going to address it in my life. These are some of the things that happen to us. When we get stressed out, we can have tight shoulders, neck tension. You can even get a lump in your throat, feel like you're about to cry or something. You can even get to the place where you can't speak. A lot of times these are experiences. This is what this emotion of anxiety will happen in your body. Get a headache, eye twitch. I have never had the eye twitch. I've had the headache. Furrowed brow. You're beginning to look a little angry. Clenched jaw. I've done that. Tears. I've done that. I have this, my tear ducts work real well. So when I'm angry, when I'm afraid, when I'm upset, all of that stuff, I tend to cry a little bit. Every time I go to Miss Sierra's office, I have to get a tissue because she had something in there that was causing that. You can get a tightness in your chest. It changes your breathing. It'll get fast and shallow. You feel a heaviness there. It's not a heart attack. It's just like a panic attack thing. You get a knot in your stomach, nausea, fluttering, a feeling in your body of fluttering, which is just kind of a nervous twitch thing. You can feel hot. You can feel cold. You have clenched fists, fidgeting, moving a little bit, having some sweaty palms. Muscle tensions, your legs can start shaking. You can even clench your toes and start tapping your feet. Yeah, that's,
I do all the things.
Yeah, you do. So here's the thing you do. Now look, some of us don't want to calm down. Some of us want to be in that angry state. Some of us feel power and authority in an angry state. And sometimes that can be dangerous. We want to be careful for that. So those of us who want to come out of that, those of us who want to get our emotions under control and have our intellect over our emotions instead of having our emotions over our intellect, these are some of the ways we do it. When our jaw begins to clench, we can wiggle our jaw back and forth. And that'll help unclench these muscles. It's not good for these muscles to stay clenched for a long period of time. It caused TMJ and some other things. What's TMJ? It's a real scientific thing, but all it means is your jaw hurts. And I don't want my jaw to hurt. I can't think of anything on my body I'm really excited about when it hurts. I don't want things hurt.
I had a homeboy, they called him self-control. This dude would get so angry, but he wouldn't have to put his hands on nobody. They understood what they were doing.
Yeah, and we need to be able to do that. The thing is, I need to be the one that's in control of my emotions. So the other thing, the furrowed brow, that's just sending a message. So what they're saying is, look, that's sending a message to other people, but what we can do is just massage our forehead. That's going to help that. Tight shoulders. When your shoulders get tight, it's really not pleasant. So you can scrunch your shoulders back and forth, and we'll get that out of there. Scrunch your shoulders up by your ears, and then release. That's gonna happen. That's feeling hot. You know, when you get angry or when you get to a place of anxiety and stuff like that, you get into the fight or flight what's it called, syndrome, and what that does, that actually brings your blood pressure up, and it actually causes you to overheat, and your body can overheat. So one of the things we can do is or several things you can do, put an ice pack behind your neck, splash your face with cold water, take a cold shower. We've talked about those kinds of things. The tightness in the chest, that can be scary because, you know, everybody tells you if you feel like you have tightness or heaviness in your chest, then you're having a heart attack. That's not necessarily so. If you're having a panic attack or anything like that, then, you know, that can also present itself that same way. But here's the deal. If you have heaviness in your chest, a tightness in your chest, you have pain in one arm or the other arm, you have a pain in your jaw or something like that, what should you assume?
Heart attack.
It could be. It may not be, but it could be. And if it is, you need to go to the emergency room, right? You need to call 911. You need to get some help because the quicker you get some help, the better. So you may not be having a heart attack, but dude, you might. You know, you could be having a heart attack. And so you need to go check that out.
What about when you know your own body? You know what's going on.
Say that again to
You
me.
know your own body? You know what's
That's
going on.
exactly right. When you know, and Santana said, when you know your own body, you know what's going on. But that heart attack can sneak up on you. Here's the other thing. We just need to know that it's not always a heart attack. We don't play with it. When I went, you know, I got 4 stents in that artery going to my heart, and you know, I had some of those feelings, and I went, and they checked it all out, and they found all that stuff in there. So if it feels like you need to go, one of the other things when you're maybe having a heart attack is you get a feeling of foreboding. You feel like something bad is fixing to happen. And so when you go. If it's a waste of time, I went to the emergency room, and man, I was there if you tell them you feel like you're having a heart attack, you can bet you're going to be there about 6 hours, 6 to 8 hours, because they take blood and they check to see what's in your blood, the enzymes and all of that stuff, and then they'll let you sit for about 4 hours. Then they'll check it again, and if that stuff hasn't changed, then they say, well, you're not having a heart attack. But they'll let you sit for 4 more hours just to make, and you're just sitting there not doing anything. They just took your blood twice. And so, you know, but it's worth it because you could be going in there, and if you're having a heart attack, one of my other best friends, I got a lot of dead friends. The older you get, the more dead friends you have. But he was only 40 years old, and he had a massive heart attack and died. Got up to go to the bathroom. So it's not something to play with. So it may not be, but just in case it is, go do what you need to do. But one of the ways that you can take care of that is take slow breaths and then exhale very slowly. And that will take care of that tightness in the chest and everything. So clench fist, that's easy. Open and close your hands. Check them out. Do stuff like that. Not in your stomach. Try heating pad, weighted blanket, something like that. I've not had that. Restlessness, tapping, fidgeting, move your body, go for a walk, do something. Tightness in your chest again. One of the things that they tell you, if you have a tightness in the chest, and I really don't know how this works, but singing or humming seems to help if you have a tightness in your chest. So, really quickly, we're going to go over this. So we need to be regulating ourselves. So we need to have a daily nervous system self-care. Nurture your nervous system. Take care of it. Look at those things. Practice breathing, including taking slow breaths and a long time to exhale. They say that you're supposed to breathe in for 4 seconds and then breathe out for 4 seconds. So you have to time that. Move your body. And we've talked about this. I haven't talked to Mr. Farmer yet, but I'll talk to him today about the exercise thing. I don't know what we're going to do that. But I do see that you guys are exercising and stuff like that, and that's really good. And I did see the other day when I was coming back, you guys were going for a walk, and that is really helpful. Yes, sir.
Any word on that equipment that you were talking about bringing up here?
Yeah. I'm going to go talk to him about that, see if he'll let me do that. And then I'm going to get it off my back porch. But like I said, somebody got to be smart enough to put it back together.
I can do it.
Okay, we'll bring it out.
Last night we watched a movie where there was 10 fighters. The guy called out 10 people. And he killed them all.
Oh, yeah. Well,
team rulers.
Yeah, movies are like that.
Hey, took them down.
Yeah,
Movies
movies
the best they'd ever done.
Movies are like that.
So they almost had to cheat to get it down. It still didn't work.
Yeah, movies are like that. So move your body, go for a walk, do some exercise. It doesn't make any difference what you're doing. Yeah, you don't have to. If you want to be a bodybuilder, I have every respect for those guys over there that are bodybuilders. But here's the other thing: you don't have to be a bodybuilder. Because when Santana's 85.
Shit, I'm 85 now. What you talking about? Can't wait to get to 87. Do
5 minutes of mindfulness meditation, simply noticing your senses. All that means is just simply noticing your senses. What am I smelling? Chicken cooking. What am I hearing? What am I seeing? What can I touch? Just doing some little something to get yourself back up where you are. Tense and relax your muscle groups in your body. Here's the deal. If you don't do any exercise at all, just tensing your muscles is better than nothing. They used to talk to us about isometric exercises. You know what that is? That's a good way of saying worthless. That's where you push down on the table, you put your hands underneath, pull up on the table. Yeah, that's pretty much worthless. But should you do that?
Sure.
If that's the only thing that you can do that. If it's the only thing that happens in your life, it's something. So take a break from screens or just stay away from the TV for a while. Stay away from your phone, all of those kinds of things. Listen to soothing music or sounds. I know we most of the time we don't like soothing music. We like thumping music. But if you listen to some soothing music, it's been proven that just listening to rain or listening to a stream running, just water running, is very helpful in calming our spirits and getting us into a good spot. Take a good warm bath or shower. And see, I'm able to do that. I can do that on a daily basis. I cannot do the cold one. Do aromatherapy. Y'all know what aromatherapy is?
Like incense?
Incense or something that smells good, stuff like that. There's so many candles out there. You can get a candle that smells like anything. Spend some time outdoors. Anybody here walk around outdoors?
Only when it's in the 80s.
Only when it's in the 80s?
Supposed to be in the 80s all week.
Do you go barefooted? Supposed to walk around outside. Make sure, here's the deal. Keep your shoes on and walk around. Make sure that there's nothing in that grass that's going to hurt you, like glass or rocks or sticks or stuff that you're going to step on. Then take your shoes off and walk through it, because there is a connection, this electrical connection between you and the earth.
Try touching a tree while you're doing it.
I got one of those.
Try touching a tree.
Yeah, while you're doing it.
Yeah. I don't know how you're going to do it, but, that's
When I was living in Oregon, I went to guys in Nora, a program called Nora and Native American. Because my wife was Native American. Anyway, they are into a lot of holistic medicine.
right.
And one of the things that I went through was acupuncture.
Mm-hmm.
There's a spot in the ear that can affect every part of the body. And by the time they're done, you'll have about 20 or 30 needles in just your ear. There'll be some, I would usually pass out. I'll be passed out. Man, you wake up from that. Bam.
Good. We did do some study on that back in the day, but we only did one thing on it. And it wasn't for this company. This was 30 years ago, and they went through there, and so we didn't do it.
Yeah, I watched a video one time that was doing a study on a bull. This bull was extremely violent, and they ran electrical wires up his bull's spine. And they ran it from his feet to his nuts, and it was a live wire. And they could activate the wire with a battery, remote control. You know what I'm saying? So when it would run, what they were doing was they were trying to be able to get closer to the bull without the bull killing their ass. And so they practiced science on this bull, and eventually they got it to where people could get around the bull and kill him. You know what I'm saying? They would heat the wire up or run electrical current, and disturb the bull, get him real mad, calm him down. And they did that. A little bit of pressure, back off, a little bit of pressure, and over time they could get closer to this bull. Right. You know what I'm saying? Because I guess they cook the enzymes out of the meat.
We may start doing that.
Hey, that's a true story.
Oh, I don't doubt it. But it's also true that if you walk around on the grass in your bare feet, that there is a connection made there. That's an electrical connection, and we need to be getting a little more sunshine than we're getting. Most of us have been telling us for 100 years that you should stay out of the sun because it's going to kill you. But the opposite is true. We need some vitamin D. We need to be in the sun, so that will help us do that. Drink a cup of something that is comforting to you. A lot of people drink tea. A lot of people drink coffee. I drink coffee, but I drink way too much coffee. But you need to have some type of ritual before you go to bed like that. That's going to help you soothe yourself down so that you can go to bed and you can sleep well. How many hours do you need to sleep?
8. 6.
Between 6 and 8. 7 is an optimal number. The young teenage people usually need more sleep. As you get older, you can do without a whole lot of sleep. So, real quickly, let's answer a couple of more of these. When a person feels a warm, affectionate glow toward a loved one, which emotion is this? Love, man said love.
Depends on what loved one it is.
I was going to say love, but affection.
Affection?
Yeah.
It's my wife, maybe because I'm horny.
And actually, for me, there's a trick. So.
Well, it is love.
He'll smash the concrete with his face if he gets in relationships. I will completely sabotage myself, go smoke dope and just ruin it.
That's what I do.
We just do a bunch of stupid shit.
Well, we do. And when we know that, we need to not do that. At some place we get to the maturity level.
4 reasons why. There's 4 reasons why guys like us shouldn't be in relationships. And they're like fires that keep on burning. They never say enough. They never say enough.
Well, there's more than 4 reasons.
We're going to start right here.
It is love. And look, here's the deal. Love involves deep emotion, deep affection, positive attraction, and attachment to others.
Hey, Doc,
There's a thing called pheromones.
I got a question.
Okay.
I got a question. Regardless of what Santana said, that's kind of like very prevalent. Say me, you know what I'm saying? But what say it again? What you just said?
And I can't remember.
You said something about
when I start lying, I can't remember what I say.
no, okay, what about love and guys like us can't get enough or something like that?
Relationship.
It was good words. Yeah, it was good words.
Well, let's talk about
Yeah,
that
it must have been straight
after we're all here. So, the next question, look, if someone experiences butterflies in their stomach before a performance, what emotion is likely?
Nervous.
Anxiety.
I said she.
Butterflies.
Fear.
Probably if I hit the lottery or something like that, if I know something good.
Okay. Oh. Yeah, it's nervousness. Something like that causes you to be nervous. Nervousness is a form of anxiety. So you said anxiety. So nervousness is a form of anxiety. It often precedes uncertain or high stakes events. What's the number one fear in America?
Death.
Abandonment?
No.
Death.
No.
In America?
Women.
No. Actually, it's in the world. The number one fear in the world. What is it? Water?
War.
War?
Hey, Arnold,
What is it?
Ground.
tsunamis.
Women.
Spiders.
Fear of life.
Fear of life. All of those are real, true fears, but the number one fear in the world today is public speaking.
Really?
We talk about that 1,000 times already. Public speaking is the number. What's number two?
Stuff in your feelings out.
Spiders.
Abandonment.
Death. Death is number two. So what does that tell you?
Women's number 3.
Women's number 4.
Oh, that tells you that people are more afraid of public speaking than they are of death.
That's wild.
It is wild. That is wild. But that's why you get these butterflies. That's why you get nervous when you do that. And I'm going to tell you another point. Now, this is a biblical point, so y'all can take it or not. But this is a biblical point. But people are so afraid of speaking because what did Jesus tell us to do? Go into all the world and spread the gospel. And the devil said, wait a minute, you're too scared to say anything. So, oh my God, I can't get up in front of people and speak. Yeah, yes. So one more, and then we're going to quit for the day. What emotion might arise from witnessing an injustice motivating one to act?
What?
Motivating one to act. What emotion might arise from witnessing something that's unjust?
Injustice in his eyes.
Yours, obviously. That's pretty obvious. Yours. It doesn't have to be injustice. It doesn't have to seem like one to anybody else if it seems like an injustice to you.
I feel angry.
Angry?
Yeah.
I like judgment.
What was it?
Like judgment. So like you gotta judge.
Disappointment. Disapproval.
All of that's true. These guys went with outrage, which is a different form of anger.
Well, they didn't understand justice then because if it's a king, let's just, in 1215, king came up with jury trials.
Well, it's the same thing, though.
So
It's
if
up
the
to you.
king was letting all his friends go because he probably investigated them more than he would a regular case and found out because we investigate both sides of the story. So when somebody considers it injustice, when a judge makes a decision on a king, they think that their way should be right. So an injustice is in the eye of the person.
That's what we just said. Yeah, it doesn't make any difference
That's a
what
tricky
you do.
question.
Yeah,
The community would backdoor and try to come and kill everybody the king let go behind his back. Conspiracy.
But it doesn't matter what everybody else thinks. It's whether or not it's an injustice to you. That's what makes the thing. So it's outrage. Outrage is a strong form of anger that is triggered by perceived wrongs and that prompts us to action. So here, look, ladies, I'm going to be over there after a while and to pick up your sign-in sheets, and I appreciate y'all. You guys did well with interaction and all of that. Any more questions, comments, side remarks?
I have a snide remark.
Okay.
Do it.
No, I don't.